Hilary Swank.
Okay, I can't even believe I'm sitting at a table with Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman, let alone in a movie with them.
Before the awards, before the red carpets, and long before Hollywood learned her name, Hilary Swank was learning how to survive. Her journey was shaped by rejection, poverty, physical pain, and moments that nearly pushed her out of the industry altogether. Yet each setback quietly forged the strength that would later define her career. This is not the story of overnight success, but of endurance, sacrifice, and the long road that led her from near anonymity to becoming one of the most respected actresses of her generation. Roots of resilience. Hilary Swank was born on July 30th, 1974, in Lincoln, Nebraska, and her childhood was marked by constant movement before her family finally settled in Bellingham. By the time she was 6, she was living in a small trailer park near Lake Samish, a place where life felt exposed and heavy every single day. The trailer park was isolated from the city, and the hardships inside her home were visible in ways that made her vulnerable. She has spoken openly about how early she became familiar with classism. When other parents learned she lived in a trailer, they quietly pulled their children away from her. Birthday invitations vanished. Play dates ended without explanation. At a young age, she understood that people could judge your value simply by where you lived. That realization stayed with her, sharpening her awareness of the invisible lines society draws and making her deeply sensitive to how exclusion works. Those experiences pushed her inward. While classmates attended parties and family dinners, Hilary stayed behind, pretending it didn't hurt. She was not even 7 when she realized her home made her different. The loneliness cut deeply, but it also sparked something important. She found refuge in books and movies because they never rejected her. Stories welcomed her without conditions. She immersed herself in characters who endured pain and fought their way forward. Each story made her feel closer to the person she hoped to become. That sense of escape became her motivation, lifting her above moments that might have otherwise crushed her. Inside her home, tension was constant. Her parents, Stephen and Judy, struggled to stay ahead of bills and growing arguments. No matter how hard Stephen worked, financial pressure never eased. By the time Hilary reached 15, the marriage fell apart. The divorce forced a difficult decision. In 1990, Hilary and her mother left Washington with just $75 and a single gas station credit card. They had no backup plan, only trust in each other. When they arrived in Los Angeles, their car became their home. For weeks, they slept inside it, while Judy searched for work and Hilary attended auditions, hiding her embarrassment as she showered in public restrooms and wore borrowed clothes. She knew how fragile their situation was, yet she refused to stop because she believed her future depended on moving forward. Books and films had once been an escape, but they slowly became a purpose. Acting transformed from a dream into a calling. She saw herself in the characters she admired and understood that storytelling had given her strength when nothing else did. She has said stories made her feel less alone, and that understanding fueled her desire to become part of them. The stage soon became her sanctuary. In Bellingham, the local theater community embraced her, offering the first space where her background did not define her. She joined the Bellingham Theater Guild and began performing in school and community productions. At 9, she played Mowgli in The Jungle Book, and the applause changed her. The stage gave her belonging, confidence, and purpose. Each performance planted the belief that the world might have room for her after all. At 15, she made a daring choice. She left high school after her sophomore year and headed to Los Angeles with her mother. It was a leap driven as much by fear as ambition. They packed everything into an Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme and drove across the country because turning back meant surrendering her dream. The car carried both hope and hardship. They slept in it along highways and quiet streets, some nights terrifying, others oddly freeing. With no safety net, they relied on each other. Weeks passed like this, punctuated by brief stays on an air mattress inside an empty house offered by new friends. Those nights under a roof felt like blessings. After a month, change arrived. Judy secured a secretarial job, allowing them to rent a single room from a single mother in Burbank. That small space felt like a triumph. Soon after, Hilary began landing small television roles. The pay was minimal, but each job proved she was moving forward. Those early struggles shaped her gratitude and resilience. She never forgot the nights in the car or the hunger she endured. She often credits her mother for carrying her through those years and for giving her the push she needed when doubt threatened to pull her under. The long road through rejection. Her struggle did not end simply because she had one foot inside the industry. In 1990, at just 16, Hilary and Judy were still sleeping in their car while trying to find representation. They made phone calls from payphones because there was no money for anything else. Rejection became routine. Still, persistence finally led to a meeting with Bonnie Liedtke, the agent known for discovering Leonardo DiCaprio. Hilary signed with her, and hope flickered again. But Hollywood remained unwelcoming. Auditions came and went. Major roles went to actors with established names. To survive, Hilary accepted tiny, often uncredited parts. She learned quickly that staying in Hollywood meant holding on to the smallest victories and not letting go. Her first noticeable film appearance arrived in 1992 with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She played a small role as Kimberly Hanna. The movie opened at number 5 at the North American box office, earning $4.5 million its opening weekend, and finishing with more than $14 million domestically. Reviews were mixed. Critics found it fun but disposable. While the film did not change her career, it placed her inside a world that would later become iconic through the television series. It was not a breakthrough, but it was forward movement. At the same time, she continued appearing in television shows like Harry and the Hendersons, Evening Shade, and Growing Pains. These roles brought no fame, but they kept her employed. From 1992 to 1993, she held a recurring role on Camp Wilder. The paycheck was small, but Hilary welcomed every opportunity. She has often said that working itself felt like a reward during those years. In 1994, she landed her first lead role in The Next Karate Kid, playing Julie Pierce opposite Mr. Miyagi. On paper, the film seemed promising. In reality, audiences didn't respond. It earned only $8.75 million in the United States and just under $16 million worldwide, making it the lowest grossing entry in the franchise. Critics called it flat and forgettable. Some praised Hilary, but the film's failure stalled her progress again. She later admitted the experience taught her to be more selective. By the late 1990s, she appeared in small films like Heartwood and Quiet Days in Hollywood. Neither made an impact. Heartwood passed quietly, and Quiet Days in Hollywood, directed by her then-husband Chad Lowe, drew criticism for weak pacing. These projects didn't advance her career, but they clarified what she didn't want to do. In 1998, she joined Beverly Hills 90210 as Carly Reynolds, a single mother and waitress. She was promised a 2-year run, something that felt like real stability. Instead, after only 16 episodes, her character was abruptly written out and sent to Montana. The cut devastated her. She later admitted she wondered if she even belonged in Hollywood. The show itself was already struggling, yet she was the one removed. Later, cast members like Tori Spelling and Jenny Garth explained that Hilary was never the issue. Writers had failed to give Carly depth or warmth. Producer Amy also defended her talent, pointing out how weak development can bury even strong actors. It became another harsh lesson. Doubt took over. Hilary considered walking away entirely. Then, only 2 months later, she auditioned for Boys Don't Cry. The role of Brandon Teena changed everything. She knew it would demand more than she'd ever given, but she went all in. Preparation was extreme. Director Kimberly Pierce had her hair cut short and dyed brown. She lived as a man for nearly a month, binding her chest, lowering her voice, and studying transcripts and books to understand Brandon fully. The transformation was so intense she later said she felt herself disappearing inside it. When Boys Don't Cry premiered on October 8, 1999, critics were stunned. Hilary's performance was called unforgettable. Suddenly, she was no longer overlooked. At the 72nd Academy Awards in 2000, Hilary Swank won Best Actress. She defeated Annette Bening, the expected winner. The upset shocked Hollywood and marked one of the most surprising Oscar wins ever. In a single night, the girl who once slept in her car stepped into history. Triumph with a shadow. That unforgettable night carried a quiet ache beneath its triumph. On March 26, 2000, when Hilary stepped onto the stage to accept her Oscar, she was given only 30 seconds to speak. Caught in the rush of emotion, she thanked her parents, her manager, her co-stars, and the producers. But in that whirlwind, she forgot to thank her husband, Chad Lowe. He had stood beside her through every hardship and even relocated with her to Omaha during filming. The realization hit her the moment she walked off stage. Chad saw panic flash across her face as she understood what she had done. Cameras caught the moment, and within hours, the story raced through Hollywood. What should have been remembered as a historic win was suddenly framed as a public snub, and Hilary felt crushed knowing how much Chad had given up for her journey. The ride home from the ceremony felt heavy and painfully slow. Chad tried to reassure her before she could even speak. He told her she never needed a stage to prove her gratitude because she showed it every day. He wasn't angry, he wasn't wounded, but he could see how deeply the mistake shook her. She apologized again and again, wishing she could rewind time. Years later, Chad said on a podcast that he felt more pain for her than for himself and wanted to shield her from the storm. Still, the media clung to the narrative. The focus stayed on the forgotten thank you instead of the performance that earned the award, and the pressure crept into their marriage. Though they tried to move on, the strain lingered and slowly grew, becoming one of several reasons they divorced in 2007. The uproar refused to fade. Talk shows and tabloids replayed the moment endlessly, turning a human slip into a lasting joke. Chad later explained he never felt denied, believing private appreciation mattered more than public ritual. But for Hilary, the embarrassment stayed. That single moment followed her for years, a reminder of how fame can distort something small into something overwhelming. It hovered over her marriage and intensified life under scrutiny, showing how easily victory can carry an unexpected weight. She threw herself into her million-dollar baby preparation with relentless focus. Every morning at Gleason's gym in New York, where legends like Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson once trained, she pushed for nearly 5 hours. Around 2.5 hours were devoted to boxing drills, jumping rope, pounding the bag, and repeating footwork until her body burned. Another hour and a half went into strength training. She lifted weights, did pull-ups and push-ups, and even pushed her own SUV across a parking lot. She consumed close to 4,000 calories a day, including about 210 grams of protein and roughly 60 egg whites. Her weight rose from about 108 pounds to a solid 131. Even when she developed a dangerous staph infection from foot blisters, she concealed it to protect her momentum. By the end, her trainer said she looked like a sculpted statue, but she was already fully inside Maggie Fitzgerald. The dedication led her to the 2005 Academy Awards. On February 27th at the Kodak Theater in Los Angeles, she won her second Best Actress Oscar. She became the first woman in the 21st century to do so at only 30 years old. Her name joined legends like Louise Rayner, Bette Davis, Olivia de Havilland, Vivian Leigh, and Ingrid Bergman. She thanked fellow nominees Annette Bening, Imelda Staunton, Catalina Sandino Moreno, and Kate Winslet, then turned to Chad and called him her everything. The moment looked perfect on stage, but reality beyond the applause told another story. Soon, cracks in her marriage widened. Together since 1997, they separated in January 2006, and by May, the divorce was public. She later spoke about struggling through his substance abuse and her efforts to hold them together. He admitted he was never jealous of her success, but felt stuck in his own career, and that imbalance weighed heavily on them both. Fans were shocked, but her highest professional moments had always coincided with deep personal pain. That pattern continued. After Boys Don't Cry in 2000, her relationship faltered. After Million Dollar Baby in 2005, it ended. She later said she tried every possible path to save the marriage. Nothing healed the deeper wounds. She celebrated on global stages while carrying heartbreak in silence. Her next major release, The Black Dahlia, in 2006, arrived with enormous expectations. With a $50 million budget, it opened on September 15th, earning $10 million in its first weekend and closing around $49.3 million worldwide. Critics admired its look but found it hollow. Audiences struggled to connect. Rotten Tomatoes settled at 23%. After years of momentum, the disappointment landed hard and marked another turning point in her journey. Cycles of Risk and Reckoning. Then came The Core, released in 2003, arriving earlier in her career yet fitting squarely into the same troubling pattern. The film carried a massive budget of $85 million, but returned only $74 million worldwide. Critics didn't hold back. Many called it far-fetched, even unintentionally funny. Her role as a geophysicist failed to resonate the way the studio had intended. In hindsight, the movie became a quiet cautionary tale in Hollywood, proving that spectacle and scale mean little when a story cannot hold an audience's belief. Next was Amelia in 2009, a project filled with promise on paper. The film traced the life of Amelia Earhart and came with a $40 million budget, a respected director in Mira Nair, and co-stars like Richard Gere and Ewan McGregor. Expectations were high, but they unraveled quickly. The opening weekend brought in only $3.9 million, and the final worldwide total stopped at $19.6 million. Critics handed it a 19% score, describing it as distant and predictable. The disappointment cut deeper precisely because so much hope had surrounded it. Even The Reaping in 2007 could not fully break the cycle. With a budget of roughly $40 million, the film earned about $62.7 million globally. It opened with $10 million its first weekend and then dropped sharply. Reviews labeled it formulaic, and audiences struggled to connect. Some acknowledged her performance, but the film itself could not rise, adding to the growing belief that outside intense dramas, box office success remained elusive for her. Hollywood slowly boxed her into a narrow category. 2 Academy Awards had crowned her a prestige actress, yet that recognition also confined her. She spoke openly about how decision-makers no longer knew where to place her. Attempts to branch into other genres repeatedly stalled. She later reflected that the industry felt deeply patriarchal when she entered it. Her range was clear, but assumptions were stronger, and she found herself pressed against the same invisible wall again and again. While her career faced uncertainty, her body was enduring battles she kept private. For more than 11 years, she lived with ovarian cysts and endometriosis. The pain brought exhaustion, reflux, and constant discomfort. In 2008, an emergency surgery removed one ovary after a cyst became dangerous. The remaining ovary continued forming cysts, requiring constant monitoring. Endometriosis, diagnosed in 2019, introduced more pain and more questions. Birth control offered no relief. Her fertility suffered. Still, she kept working silently until insurance denials left her no choice but to speak. In September 2020, she filed a lawsuit against the SAG-AFTRA health plan for refusing coverage. She had paid into the plan for years, but after 2016, her claims were classified as infertility-related, despite being intended to prevent cancer and hormonal complications. From 2017 through 2020, she requested ultrasounds and surgeries, all denied. An anonymous OBGYN upheld the decision. She saw it as dangerous and unjust. Stepping forward, she said the lawsuit was not only for herself, but for every woman whose health was minimized. Her stance resonated widely, and support poured in. Her fertility journey grew heavier with time. Losing one ovary and fighting cysts in the other left her future uncertain. Each denial carried emotional weight alongside physical pain. Wanting a family became a battle fought on multiple fronts, against her body and a system meant to protect her. Life shifted again in 2018 when she met Philip Schneider on a blind date arranged by friends. They met at 10 in the morning and stayed together until 11 at night, surprised by how natural it felt. After years of heartbreak, the ease stunned her. They married months later. After her marriage to Chad Lowe from 1997 to 2007 and relationships that never settled, this brought a calm she hadn't known. She called it love at first sight, an unexpected gift. Motherhood arrived later, carrying its own wonder. In October 2022, she announced on Good Morning America that she was pregnant with twins. She had frozen her eggs at 37 and became pregnant at 47. On April 10, 2023, she welcomed Aya and Ohm on Easter Sunday at 48. The pregnancy was high risk, but both babies were healthy. She described it as a marathon that taught patience and presence, embracing every change with gratitude. Joy dimmed again in October 2025, when her rescue dog Kai died unexpectedly. He had been with her through countless transitions. Adopted from a school in the San Fernando Valley, he became family instantly. She shared a heartfelt tribute, recalling his polka dot paws and steady presence. Fans from around the world responded, understanding the depth of the loss. Soon after, in December 2025, she faced unwanted attention again. On December 10th at LAX, she believed a woman named Jada Bafis was filming her twins and reacted sharply. She later learned Jada was traveling with her terminally ill sons, Mason, 7, and Jack, 4, on a Make-A-Wish trip. Hilary apologized publicly. Jada accepted, acknowledging the pressure celebrities face. The moment sparked discussion about privacy and empathy, then settled when both women met each other with grace. Hilary Swank's life has never followed a straight line. Every triumph has been shadowed by struggle, and every setback has carried a lesson that reshaped her path. From box office disappointments and industry limits to health battles, love found late, and the long road to motherhood, her story is not one of smooth success, but of endurance. She kept moving even when the spotlight felt unforgiving, choosing honesty over silence and resilience over retreat. What defines her most is not the awards on a shelf, but the strength to keep going when the applause fades. And as her journey continues, one thing remains clear. Her story isn't about perfection, it's about survival, growth, and the quiet courage to begin again.